NC State at Clemson. Clemson's a 6.5 point favorite here. Over under is bouncing all over the place with weather speculation. I think it's up to 43 now. It was down in the high 30s, up to 45. Who knows where it is right at the second. I think it's around 43. Clemson has won 36 consecutive games at home. Their last loss game 43-42 to Pitt back in 2016. NC State won this meeting last year in overtime, 27-21. Their last win at Clemson came back 20 years ago in 2002 with Phillip Rivers. They won to get the 9-0. And then I think they lost a bunch of games in a row after that, but it was the last time they won double-digit games. When I look at this game, by the way, I have to first laugh at Clemson is, look, they put up 51 last week for Wake. They also put up 48 last year against Wake when they had one of the worst offenses in the country. DJ looks better. The Clemson secondary, but I just look, here's how I break this down. I think the weather looks okay. So I assume Doran is going to come out here and unleash Leary. That's everything that I'm hearing. That's what's going to happen, as long as the weather is okay. Can Leary and these receivers take advantage of a vulnerable Clemson secondary? I thought as long as Hartman had time, and he didn't really have that much time. When he did, he shredded. Even when he didn't, he was able to shred. The Clemson defense, which was looked bad against Furman, they have holes on the back end. They're 75th in defending pass defense success rate. But NC State 65th in pass offense success rate. So I don't, like Clemson's defense, 80th EPA per pass allowed. Now, I know Sam Hartman's really good. I just haven't seen it from Devin Leary with these receivers. That was the big question I had with NC State coming into the year. Their skill positions. They lost their best receiver, Azukanama or whatever his name is, and he was their third down bailout, their big possession receiver, their go-to guy. They don't have that. It's like Thayer Thomas in the slot over the middle is a big part of this offense. But other than that, it's a very underwhelming offense so far this year. They're going to unleash Leary. Can he come through is the question. I don't know. I'm having trouble getting a hold of this game. I ultimately think NC State's going to throw a lot. Clemson won't be able to run it. You can't really run on either of these teams, so they're going to have to throw it. And DJ's been better at throwing it, but I think he's going to be under some pressure here. But from, a total of 43 and the weather's okay and both teams are throwing, leads me to an over. That's where I lean right now. But I also I don't think either offense is going to have a ton of success. It all comes down to Leary being able to deal like Hartman. Can he do that or not? I don't know. I am extremely confused in this game. I think there's a lot of variance. The weather could change too. I might throw like NC State in a round robin money line. If you got the over at like 39-40 and you saw the weather, great. But I'm still a little bit confused. I will laugh at Clemson and Dabo, because I always have to do that once a week. Dabo had his son, Drew Sweeney, on the kick return team last week. And Wake Forest said, what the hell is this kid doing on the kick return team? And they kicked it to him. And he caught it. He was one of the blockers. And he caught it at the 10. And he could barely run. I'm sure, just compared to D1 athletes, he was he was a great player in high school. He got tackled at like the 19. The coaches then, instead of taking him off the team, the coaches then said, if this happens again, kneel it. Don't try to run. Wake next scores a touchdown. Next kickoff, they kick it right to Dabo's kid again. He takes a knee at the 10. They start the drive at the 10. And then they had to pull him out of the game. Embarrassing. Nepotism at its finest. So I don't think you'll see Dabo's kid on the kick return unit this week. Colin, what do you see here?
I'm filing that away for questions I want to give Dabo next year at Media Days. I'll start with the Clemson defense since you kind of ended there. I am clear about what side I want to be on in this game, and you're going to take the Clemson numbers on.
I have friends in Raleigh, by the way, that said you bet Clemson. They saw you bet Clemson. They knew before the season you loved NC State.
Yeah.
On the Tuesday pod,
yeah,
it sounded like you were going to like NC State. They want explanations. I have a lot of good friends in Raleigh that come visit here. They're like, Colin played Clemson. What the fuck? So they're pissed. They're like, what? They're waiting to see what I do. Um, I'm still undecided. So go ahead, state your case.
Listen, I hope I'm wrong. I've got a 14-1 on NC State to win the ACC. And I said preseason, I said during the summer, this is the one game where you're going to hedge. I don't think I'm done betting on Clemson. I think I'm going to hit the money line too, just to cover up that 14-1. So depending on what number you got, you could have got down to 8-1 on NC State. That number
is the 6.5. The 6.5 is not a hedge play.
It's not a hedge play. It's a play outright on Clemson covering. And I think, to hedge the NC State ticket, I'm probably gonna have to lay a little minus 260 or do something live, but I'm not sure I'm gonna get the chance live. And I'll start with the defense here. I think you throw all the numbers out the door. They're gonna get one of their two top guys back in the secondary that was missing last week. Andrew Makuba at safety, Sheridan Jones returns to corner. Xavier Thomas was one of the biggest pieces on the defensive line. He hasn't played this year yet. He's supposed to return in this game. Brian Barisi's got some personal things that have been going on off the field. He's going to return for this game. The defense hasn't even come close to playing to its potential. And Wake Forest attacked a secondary last week that was missing its top players. They're back. So when you look at,
and Wake Forest, and to be honest, has a better passing attack than NC State. I mean, Hartman as receivers are as good as it gets.
Yeah, and Devin Leary, you're right. Devin Leary is not Sam Hartman. He's not on that torrid TD to INT pace that he had last year. And as a matter of fact, he's had.
But they don't have as good of receivers either on the outside.
No, but he's had 5 big time throws and 5 turnover worthy plays. It's just not the same production he's put out last year, and it's not something that's going to beat Clemson's secondary. And I know the box score says 4 touchdowns against UConn last week. He didn't have any big time throws, so don't be fooled by that. And the offense has had issues moving the chains with their run game. They're having issues doing finishing drives with touchdowns. They've been settling for field goals or not getting any points at all. I think back to the East Carolina game, and NC State right now is 87th in red zone scoring. So they're just not getting it done when it's money time. And the biggest issue in this game is that the 2 starting safeties for the Wolfpack are missing tackles at a high pace. NC State's defense right now, 111th in tackle grading, but that comes primarily from Tanner Engel and Cyrus Fagan. Both are safeties on the back end. And if there's a Clemson offensive player that gets into the second level, they're just going to blow through them like it's the Arkansas defense. Now, I do have to say this. We are now a DJ Uiagalelei podcast. I'm making the executive decision. It's a we. And what I saw against Wake last week was ridiculous. What he did against Wake's defense was ridiculous. And by the way, Wake ranks.
What was ridiculous in that game is the refs. They better not call it like this. Every throw down the field was PI. If I knew that, I would have bet everything I have on the over. All you had to do is throw it downfield, and he made some good throws and completions, put up a lot of yards. But any incompletion in that game, PI, just flags everywhere.
That arm that we loved against Notre Dame back in the pandemic season, it's back. DJ had 5 passing touchdowns against Wake. None of it was a fluke. And it was pretty impressive against a Wake defense at PFF grades as the 9th best coverage team in the nation. And I think there's some things that we need to pay attention here with DJ. I tweeted something out last night about it. I was shocked to read it. DJ has 1 turnover play through the air so far this year. The game against Wake was the first time he hasn't had a drop from wide receiver since the Wake game last year. DJ has doubled his big time throw rate this season from 4.5% up to 9.4%. He's making all the huge throws. And on the ground, this is what I couldn't believe, because when we saw him in the opener against Georgia Tech, he looked slow, right? Lost a lot of weight. He looked slow. He has 18 missed tackles created and 28 rushing attempts this season. You think, okay, well, that's a pretty good rate. He had 14 lifetime before this season and 110 rushing attempts. He's already exceeded that in a quarter of the attempts this year. He is making people miss on the ground. He has doubled his big time throw rate. DJ is doing things, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for it, even after what happened against Wake. This is a Clemson play all the way. It's not, I'm not, the hedge with NC State, I'll put that in the app some other time, but Clemson's going to cover this game. DJ is playing elite football again. The football we thought was going to show up last year is what we have seen so far in the numbers on the ground and through the air. It's going to be a wet ball, sloppy track. I don't want to back an NC State offense that's 42nd havoc allowed, or a defense that's missing tackles so much. So Clemson for me.
I'm still undecided. Keep an eye on the NC State special teams. Two good kickers here, but NC State special teams are elite. And we know, Dabo's got his kid on one. His punter is not great. Keep an eye on the special teams because that could be a path for NC State. We'll talk more about this game, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, Big Bets on Campus Live. We'll also have a lot of content out on it on the Action Network app and actionnetwork.com.